With Herb Hand. Chris?
Can you just talk about the five guys that played, how they handled their responsibilities individually speaking, and what stood out to you about how that group played as an entirety?
Yeah, they played well. They played good enough for us to get the job done last Saturday, but that doesn't mean anything for this weekend. They still got to go out and play as well. Not one play, not 1 yard, not one first down is going to carry over. So, but they did a good job. Luke handled identifications well, and that's going to be his, main role and purpose. Pre-snap obviously is to get everybody on the same page. That's going to stay the same every week. So. But he did a really good job at that, but we're moving on to East Texas A&M, so.
All right.
To be as good at that as he is, how much work on his own does he have to do to that? Like, how do you get so good at that?
Well, I mean, number one, he comes from a football family. He's been around it his whole life, okay? Football is very important to him, and he's a veteran dude. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that wasn't his first game he's ever played. None of those guys, it's their first game playing together, but we have some veteran guys, and so when you have vets that act and play like vets, that's awesome, and Luke certainly has been able to do that. So, but, he does a lot of independent film study. He asks great questions in the meetings. If he's not exactly sure about, hey, this particular look, man, he'll have me in the film room and say, Coach, how do you want me to handle this? You know what I'm saying? And we talk it out. And, but ultimately, he's the guy that's on the field that runs the show. And, and I'll say this too, he's been very instrumental in the development of our young center, with Sandman. Luke's been very instrumental in Sandman's development and just helping out in that regard, So very fortunate that he's here with us. I love coaching him.
Brendan?
With this being the group's first game together, so many new pieces, it might be some of the things that Luke did that you were alluding to, but how was just the, communication between all five, the execution, and doing the scheme stuff correctly?
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. We got to clean up a lot of stuff. We weren't perfect by any stretch. We don't need to be perfect to win. We didn't need to be perfect to win that game. That game's over too, by the way. But we didn't need to be perfect. We just had to play our best, okay? And the communication amongst the five was great. They were great on the sideline, in between series, when we sit down in between series and we talk about the last series, and we have the iPads now so we can actually watch the film of the last series, which is instrumental. And those guys did a great job of talking out, things that happened on the field, fixing. My job on game day is to try to help them solve problems before they occur. Okay, but when they're on the field, they have to have the ability to solve those problems on the field. They may be in the middle of a series, and we got to provide them with the tools to do that. And that's all the stuff we do in practice is about developing that. And but those guys did a great job of for a first game together. That was really good, But we got a lot of work to do. We got to clean up a lot of things with technique and fundamentals. What happens is you go out and you start to compete, and you have all this technique work that you do, and then the next thing you know, your footwork isn't quite as clean as maybe it was in a drill or in practice leading up to the game. And then your feet get a little bit sloppy, and then the blocks are not fitting, exactly the same way. And those things happen. I mean, that's real, but we have a lot of work to do in that regard. A lot, so.
Ira?
Go back to Luke real quick. So, how how close was he to getting most or all of the calls right? And then what happens if the center doesn't get it right? Like what?
Yeah, so he got every call right. Okay, because he made a decision and he called out what he thought. Here's what I tell him: ID what you see, ID what you see, and then everybody's got to be on the same page as him. And even if he's wrong, we're all wrong together. And if we're all wrong together, we got a chance to make it right. But if you have some guys that aren't in accord to what the center says, and the left side's doing something out of the sync with the right side, and you're not coordinated, then it all goes south. You know what I'm saying? So the best part about, or one of the most important parts about playing center is ID what you see, make a call, and live with it. And that's what we tell you. Say, have balls, make a call, and live with it, man. And then the other guy's got your back, and you go out there and you execute what the center says. And when we do that, we put hats on hats. So.
Brendan,
Can I do 2 for 1?
go for it.
All right, first, 2 questions. Coach Norvell spoke highly of Rizzy this offseason, this camp, with his return back. I guess, what have you seen from him in kind of getting ready and back in game shape?
That's your first question.
That's the first, and then I can ask the second
Okay, all right.
now,
All right.
or wait till after this
No,
one.
Jake Rizzy is a stud, man. He's a warrior, and he worked his ass off to get back to where I have ultimate confidence in Jake Rizzy. Ultimate confidence in him. And the guy's been an all-conference player at Harvard when he was there. He's got a lot of snaps under his belt. I think he's played like 1,800 or something career snaps, somewhere around there. And I know this, that when, because it's going to be when. It's not a matter of if, it's going to be when. Who knows when? I don't know. But when we say, hey, Jake, boom, you're going, it doesn't matter what position it is. That's the other thing too. That dude will go in and play left tackle, right guard, corner, kicker, whatever we ask him to do. You know what I'm saying? But he's that type of guy. He's ready to play. He's ready to represent our unit and our team and this university. And I'm just glad that he's with us. I love coaching that guy. So, number 2, go ahead.
On the Gavin Sawchuk run towards the end of the game,
Yes.
There's a couple of your guys from your unit who came running over to help push him.
Yes.
Is that something you guys, I imagine, talk about, but like you coach for? I guess how
Yeah, we would call that a culture play.
Okay.
That's a culture play. That is a demonstration of our culture. That's the expectation, that we're gonna play through the whistle. Unfortunately, there was 3 other guys that were not at the pile, so they got to get on board with that. You understand? But Richie and Luke came in there and they're pushing the pile, and that's our culture that we're trying to make sure we continue to establish.
Liam,
I was gonna ask about that, but when you just look at East Texas A&M this week, you said you guys want to get better and clean things up. What particularly do you want to see from that group and just this weekend?
Yeah, this week and every week really is about us, and it's our opponent is East Texas A&M, but this is about us and playing to our standard, and that's what I want to see. I want to see us play to the standard that the guys have told me they want to be held to, right? Which is a championship level standard, and they asked me to hold that standard. That's what we're going to do. So that's what I want to see. I want to see us play that standard. What does that mean, right? That means communication. It starts with our communication up front. And we were really good at communication, but guess what? Not one play is going to carry over from last Saturday. Not one. So we got to do it again. It starts, in practice today, and just making sure we're getting ready for the defense. It's a different scheme. There's different players out there. There's different matchups. It's a different defense. So we got to be on point with all that. And then from a technique and fundamentals standpoint, right? It's not just enough to say, okay, well, I'm blocking him, right? Now you get into the how-tos. The who-tos are your assignment, right? And we always talk about who-tos, how-tos, and whys. Who-tos are your assignment. How-tos is how am I going to get my job done? So I want to see great technique and fundamentals, and that's where we can really clean things up. And then the why is when you're operating at the why level, you have a big picture understanding of how your 1/11th, there's 11 dudes out on the field. So I have 1/11th of this job. How does my job impact the other guys around me? What are people expecting out of me from my 1/11th? How can the defense try to defend what we're trying to do from a big picture standpoint? That comes from experience. Young guys want to go to the Y level, like right now, they want to operate the Y level. You can't. Because they got to know their who-tos and how-tos first. But we have experienced guys that understand the Y level, but they still got a lot to clean up in their how-tos. Like our who-tos were good, man. We're putting hats on hats. But our how-tos were not as clean as they need to be.
Aslan?
Can you quantify Tommy's presence alone, the strain it puts on a defense? I mean, you talk about Luke making the right plays, and I don't
Yeah.
know how much, RPO, read option stuff that Tommy
Right.
makes the right play on, but plays that maybe he has no plan on keeping the ball, but him just being out there, what does that do for you guys?
Yeah, well, they have an extra hat to defend in the run game, right? And so when you start thinking about option principles, right? Everybody's got to be accounted for, okay? And with Tommy on the field now, the numbers swing back to our advantage, or the defense is going to be light somewhere else because they have to put an extra hat into the run fit for the quarterback or whatever, and it gives us opportunities for our wide receivers to get one-on-one matchups where now that we can throw the ball and they can go make plays in one-on-ones, which is what a receiver wants. They say, give me one-on-one with this guy and I'll go make a play. Okay, cool. Well, what happens is when you have a quarterback that is a threat in the run, it forces the defense to commit an extra hat because they're a gap down now in the run game. Okay? And then in the pass game, when things are not perfect and something breaks down, maybe in a protection, or they bring a hat, they bring a guy that we're not accounting for, that we're hot off of him. Okay? When that happens, and you have a quarterback who has the ability to create, right? Make a guy miss, get out on the edge, or hit it downhill and get in the green grass where now you got defenders out there playing pass defense and your quarterback's running. That's like a defensive coordinator's, worst nightmare. So Tommy brings all that to the field, which makes everybody's job easier in terms of, the responsibility that the defense has to defend him. It helps out in every regard. And then what we got to do is everybody around him has to do their job so that I don't ever want Tommy to feel like he's got to carry the load on his own, right? There's 10 other guys out on the field with him that are all out there to help him do his job. And, from an offensive line perspective, we have a saying that we say, when we work, it all works. When we work, it all works. And that's the key to offensive success, in my opinion, is up front. When we work, everything looks good. So that's our goal.
Chris?
If the scoreboard and game flow affords you the opportunity of diving into reserves, do you want to go with an entire new O-line group, or do you want to mix and match guys in with starters? Like, how do you approach that as you want to develop guys?
Make that decision when the time comes. I don't ever get the guys just got to be ready to play. You know what I mean? There's guys that are with our twos right now that they could be one play into the game and now they're a one, and now you're mixing and matching, right? But if they always got to be ready. They got to stay ready so they don't have to get ready.
And
So it doesn't matter.
in that same tune, how much do you want to get game film for younger guys? Because ultimately that's not
I
great.
just
for them
want to
learn
win.
off
Corey?
That's it.
Two quick ones. First one on the Mekhi Danzey touchdown. Gunnar Hansen makes a block on a guy that looks like he might have a play on Mekhi about 5 yards. Is that who he's supposed to block, or is that one of those how-tos and?
No, that was a who-to deal.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a who-to deal. That we have assignments on a lot of our reverses and things of that nature where guys get out in the open field, and that's why you have to have, offensive linemen, right? When you start evaluating guys, you're looking for guys who are physical enough at the point of attack to dent the defense and move people off the line of scrimmage. And then you also have to have the ability to play in space. Spatial playing is pass protection. Spatial playing is, getting out and having to block second and third level defenders Whether it's you're climbing on a zone play, or you're out in space on a reverse or a screen. You know, we had some screens the other day as well. So we have to be able to play in space as well as, you know, be able to impact the line of scrimmage. And so when you have guys like that, you can do a lot with them.
And then on the 4th and 1 at the 34, how much is a play like that perhaps a tone setter for a season? Not only that they trusted you to get the first down, to trust the offensive line, but it wasn't a fake handoff and a run or a throw. It was just straight power on
Right.
4th and 1 with kind of the game in the balance.
Yeah. Well, we got, you know, handed the ball to a dude, and our guys up front, you know, they understood the awareness of the situation. You know, Coach Norvell preaches the first thing that we want to do is play smart. We want to play smart, okay? And in order to play smart, you have to be aware of situations. Yeah, situational football is an area where guys that are veteran dudes, like sometimes rookies, they don't necessarily understand that or they don't get it, or, you know, but guys that knew, you watch Richie Leonard on that play. Go back and watch that play again. They popped the linebacker to his side. He set his foot in the ground, put his shoulder into that guy's chin, stopped the linebacker from penetrating, knocked another dude back. We got the first down. You know, he's on the ground, pounding the ground. Why? Because he knew how important that was. You know what I'm saying? He understood the entire, the weight of that situation. It's awesome.
Got 3 more in the queue, Brendan.
On the other side of the ball, I was curious about the Desir brothers and maybe what you saw from them during the offseason when they go head to head against your guys.
Yeah, those guys are dudes. They're you know, they got a chance to be really good. I mean, I just see what we see in practice, and you know, those guys are freshman guys that are they're in front of the curve for sure. You know, they're out in front of the curve, Terrence has done just a great job in developing those guys, and but they got a really good skill set, but he coaches them very well, and it gives them the tools for them to be successful and to really be able to highlight their ability, and they have tremendous ability. They got great motors. You know, that's probably one of their top attributes, I think, is just their motor, those two guys. So they're fun to watch. Not fun to have to block in practice, I can promise you that, but they're fun to watch against other people.
All right.
You've been with Gus for a long time, and I'm sure he can draw up all kinds of things, but does he have to ask you, like, can these guys do that? Are they smart enough? Like, what all goes into deciding?
No, that play was decided in training camp. You know, that play was decided in Jacksonville. You know what I'm saying? When you're in the middle of it, and you know, you're doing 3rd down and short and 3rd and goal, 4th and 1, all those reps in practice. So
But-
we know, you know, listen, you know what you're going to go with, dance with the one you brought, right? Dance with the one you brought. And those are but you learn those things in practice. You practice those situations, situational awareness. And you got to practice it. If you don't practice it, you don't have the confidence to do it. But we knew what we had, and we knew, you know, what our identity, what we wanted to be.
Even on some of the plays where they've got to sell things, like Gunner selling or like just in the open field stuff, do you see it in practice and say, okay, this is something we can't do or we can do, or you just got to get it done?
Our job as coaches is to highlight the abilities of our players, right? And so, you know, we're not going to ask a guy to do something that they can't do, right? We got to find out what can they do, what can they do, what can they operate well, and what are their. And here's the deal: I tell my guys, I said, once you show me you can, like once you do it right the first time, man, you're screwed now, because now I know you can do it. It's not a matter of will, or it becomes a matter of will, not can. You know, now if you're asking a guy, can he do it? Like, I'm not going to ask our kicker to go and block a 3 technique, because I know he'll try, but he can't do it. Okay, I'm not going to ask Micah to kick a 45-yard field goal. He probably want to try, but our success rate's not going to be great. But once a guy shows you what he can do, then that's the expectation. That becomes the standard now, right? And so then it becomes a matter of will. And a matter of will is a matter of choice. So you make the decision. Are you going to do it right or are you not? Because I know you can now, because you've shown me you can. Now it becomes a matter of will. And that's why, you know, Richie's pounding the ground, because he imposed his will on somebody. It's awesome.
Bob, last one.
Coach, you said the iPads were instrumental on the sidelines.
Yes.
For instruction, how, just because you didn't have the continuity in spring, you had it, what you had in August, but then to be on the sideline and then real time to be able to make adjustments or communicate, how can those iPads help as far as just what you're trying to achieve?
Well, the big thing with the iPads is it helps you confirm, you know, hey, is this what we prepared for? Yes. Okay. Hey, guys, this is exactly what we were, you know, what we've been looking at all week. Okay. Or is it something a little bit different? Like they did some different stuff. They got good coaches. They did different stuff. This group we're about to play, you know, they played the other day. They were a little bit different defensively than what they had done the year before. But, you know, we got to prepare for all of it. So we get out on the field, now it's like, okay, are they doing what we thought they were going to do? You confirm it. Yes. Okay, we're good. Oh, hey, look, here's something that's a little bit different. Hey, guys, here's what we got to do here. You know what I'm saying? To handle this. Next time we get this look, let's make sure we do this. Luke, you got it? Yep. Okay, man. Let's rock and roll. You know what I mean? So,
Perfect. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
thanks, guys. Appreciate it.